Welcome to Kentucky Horsepower, the official podcast of the Kentucky Automobile Dealers Association. Hi, hello, and welcome everyone. This is Jason Wilson with the KADA, and you are here for another edition of the official podcast of KADA, Kentucky Horsepower. And joining me today is my friend Jamie Hasty. Jamie is with SESCO Company. Now, that is a new partnership that we have, KADA has, that should be of great benefit to our dealer community as a whole. So Jamie, thanks for joining me. Good to see you again.
Thanks for
albeit
having me.
virtually.
Yes. It's been too long, but I'm so excited to be with you today, and I appreciate your time and having me. We're really excited about this new member benefit that SESCO has with the KADA and all of their valued dealer members here. So let me tell you a little bit about what SESCO does. I know you're familiar, but
let's jump right into it.
Yeah, some of your members may not be. So SESCO Management Consultants has been in business since 1945. We're actually the oldest human resources company in the nation. We were actually founded by a former wage and hour investigator, Mr. Joe Lawson. He worked out of Bluefield, West Virginia. He was working for the Department of Labor when that Fair Labor Standards Act, minimum wage, overtime, all this stuff came into play. And he was talking to one of his judge friends one day. And the judge said to him, "Hey, Joe, you know, nobody's really out there helping these employers get into compliance with all of these regulations. And, you know, minimum wage hit first, and then it was Title VII and all of these things." So a light bulb went off. So Joe started SESCO Management Consultants out of Bluefield, West Virginia back in 1945. Okay. We are a third generation owned family firm, not my family, but I consider them family at this point. Right. Corporate office is out of Bristol, Tennessee. I run the Southeast Division out of Richmond, Virginia, and we've got some scattered consultants in Nashville and in South Carolina. We got people everywhere. Sure. So, what I love about this partnership, Jason, is that SESCO has a very, very rich history in working with automotive dealerships. Yep. And we work with many state assistants, Virginia auto dealers. We've had more of an informal relationship over the years with Kentucky off and on. North Carolina, there's quite a few states that we work with. Sure. And I love the dealers. They're so fun. But they also come with their own unique challenges as well, right, with regard to pay plans and commissions and performance issues that arise. And you know, because you're shaking your head, you know what you hear from your members. So we deal with automotive dealerships day in and day out. And particularly for me, I have a large bulk of my clients as automotive dealers as well. Right. So at SESCO, kind of our senior core team, there's a lot of consultants, but the three that you probably hear the most would be Mr. Bill Ford, who's our president and CEO. Mm-hmm. Then you have Mr. Joel Cullum, who is our senior vice president, and then myself as vice president. And I think some of those names may be familiar to members. And that's wonderful. We love that. So what we have done is we have partnered with the KADA to give members some access to SESCO free of charge. And we feel like that's a really huge benefit, because then you're not paying another consulting firm, or you're not paying, you know, your employment attorney $600 an hour every time you need to run a hypothetical right, protect the innocent type of situation by somebody, just to make sure that we're on the up and up, right? So one of the nice benefits about our new partnership is they get unlimited telephone and email access to SESCO for HR related questions. Mm-hmm. That could be anything from performance management, enforcement of employee handbook policies. Right. Gosh, what happens when that technician crashes that car on the lot, or when they're test driving? Can I dock them that deductible from the insurance? Well, no, you can't without signed written authorization. Mm-hmm. So anything that deals in the HR realm they have the ability to pick up the phone, shoot anybody at SESCO an email, and they're going to get a response generally no more than 24 hours.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's look, obviously we've known each other for a number of years now and have had that relationship. I know there's been times I've called you myself with questions regarding things, organizationally speaking,
Yes.
anything from, hey, a employee handbook review to a situation where, again, performance management or knowing that you need to make a move, but knowing also there's pitfalls potentially if you don't do it properly. And one of the things that the executive committee for KDA has tasked me with and was important early on was to put together resources and partnerships that truly benefit the dealer. The words that ring in my head as I think about my early meetings with our executive committee was the desire that a dealer should just naturally come to KADA as their first stop for anything they need. Yeah. And an area that we weren't really well equipped to deal with was this one, which this partnership allows. And this is, I think, one of the top benefits of being a KADA member, as far as just things that can help you directly. To your point, you can make those phone calls, you can send an email, you have this what if question, you think you know, but you're not sure. And it makes it so much easier when you have that contact information. And we'll of course be sharing that with this podcast. So again, we're really excited about it as well. And to echo your statement earlier, you all know dealers, you work with dealers throughout the country, you're well versed on the situations that they run across. So that sort of leads me to sort of the question regarding the HR world right now. And this, as we've gone through COVID and all those various challenges, continue to go through it in some form and iteration. What are the big issues right now? What are the big challenges that you're seeing or hearing about? Anything new or different that our dealers may not be aware of?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I think the important part is whether you are a smaller dealer, under 50 employees, or you have 6 or 7 different sites with 500 employees.
Right.
SESCO can still be an incredible resource for you. We work with dealerships that have 10, 12, 15, 25 different locations in various states. So, and some of your members may be in that realm. I think the toughest thing about being in HR is that you can have experience and knowledge, but when the wind blows, that regulation could change like that. Right. And so even well-seasoned HR individuals may not always be specifically versed in wage and hour or workers' comp or FMLA, or know that FMLA and ADA interplay, and you can have somebody on FMLA, short-term disability, workers' comp, and ADA all at the same time. And how do you document that?
Right.
Or they may not have the resources, the forms, the letters. So I think right now HR is a unique place for a number of reasons. We know that we've been in this very unique labor market for the last, I would say, 2 years, and even prior to COVID. And dealerships were struggling with the technicians, right?
Sure.
And that's nationwide shortage. You're competing with the one down the road or an independent service shop, and flat rate. We're seeing flat rates increase to $50, $60, $70 a turned hour now that the employee is being paid.
Right.
Or you're seeing employees come in this weird market and asking for absurd amount of money, and they want the sun, the moon, and the stars and all of this. So I would say one thing that is really going on right now is obviously the labor market.
Right.
We've heard the term, the Great Resignation. Now the new term is what we call quiet quitting. Have you heard that yet?
Right. Yes, I read that just the other day, and explain that a little bit, because it's very
it's interesting. So quiet quitting is the employees that are still there with you, that are literally doing the bare minimum to get by. And why is that happening? Because they're burnout. Whether we have, taken a accounting office from 5 people down to 3 because people resigned during COVID, or we just never backfilled, inflation, margins are getting tight. These people are overworked and feeling like either A, my compensation is not reflective upon the amount of work that I'm doing. They're burnout. They don't feel like they have a work-life balance. They don't feel appreciated. That's a huge thing right now.
Yeah.
And so all of those little factors kind of play into this quiet quitting, as we call it, where they're just doing what they need to do to get by, and they're not going to do anything else until they feel like they're being invested in and appreciated by their leadership team.
Right.
So that's what employers need to be watching for now, is kind of those people that are just skirting by.
Right.
Obviously, we still need to worry about retention and not having a mass exodus.
Sure.
So that's a big thing. I would say on a federal basis, not a whole lot going on in the HR world. I know you all have a ton going on in other industry specifics with electric and bills and tax credits and all of that. But for right now, it's quiet, but we know we're coming up on midterm elections.
Right.
That tends to stir the pot a little bit when we're talking about federal employment changes. As we know, federal minimum wage, they've been pushing for 15. States have the ability to set their own minimum wage. So we may see a few things come out from Department of Labor. I do know that the Department of Labor is looking to change some of the salary thresholds for the exemptions. And if you remember, we went back through that in 2016, right?
Right.
They took the salary threshold. Now, the beautiful thing for auto dealers is that you guys have partial exemption. So, but what we don't want to have happen on a state level is that the state assembly or legislature changes the ability to apply those federal partial exemptions from overtime. So that's kind of going on statewide, not too much just yet, but again, we tend to see more increase in changes that are going on from a regulation standpoint once midterms occur and we get into legislative session. So quiet quitting, regulatory updates. I think it's really, really important to look at, from a retention standpoint, wages and benefits.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, you guys have a partnership with Integrum Advisors. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we work closely with Integrum, and they are, and I know you do as well. So they cover our health and voluntary benefits program, which is another fairly new program that we've launched and are pretty excited about.
Yeah, so not to get too far off on topic, but this is a great opportunity to utilize another member benefit or partnership.
Right.
And speaking with Integrum and challenging your benefits. Right. I was listening to a podcast not too long ago, and it was talking about how some employers in some markets, now this is not a blanket statement.
Sure.
They don't even care about the 401k anymore because this younger generation started investing at 18 and they're already millionaires at this point because they're doing, indexes. So it's interesting. So what I would say is challenge the status quo. Don't get me wrong. Your traditional benefits are incredibly important, but what extra value, and it may not be dollars, what extra value can you bring? One of my dealers in a different state actually reached out to me and they said, are any of your other dealership clients allowing work from home for their administrative team? And I said, not a single one. Think about that. Not a single dealer that I work with allows for telework or work from home.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, but how are we competing with all of these other companies for administrative type individuals, your accounting, your title clerks, all of that, when they can telework, but we can't? Right. I said, well, you need to challenge that. But that also comes with conversations about IT and accessibility and safeguarding and all of these things. So you've got to look at where can we reinvent the wheel, so to speak, that's going to meet our operational needs,
Right.
but also bring a competitive advantage to you as a dealership. Those sorts of things will help you both recruit but also retain, because that labor market is shifting for better work-life balance, higher wages, better benefits.
More flexibility is a key, and we're seeing that evolution for sure. More and more companies are, getting away from the brick and mortar office scenario and the cubes and whatnot, and telework is a thing. I mean, we had to jump into it with COVID.
Yeah, we didn't have a choice with COVID, right?
And then many of these companies realized, we can do this.
It works. It
works, and you can monitor. And ultimately, it's not, I think what you're speaking to as it relates to value added and whatnot, it comes down to culture, right? It comes down to what is the culture of your organization? Is it a culture that is welcoming, where you don't have these the quiet quitters, and you don't have those just mailing it in, so to speak, doing what they have to do and nothing more? Or are they engaged and want to be a part of the growth and excitement of what's going on within? That's what I see when I talk to dealers out there.
Absolutely. And I think culture is so important. And that's not a new topic. We talk about that every year, right?
Yeah.
But especially in the dealer world, it can be brutal at times, right? Mm-hmm. Just the pace, the volume. And so I think this is a nice reminder for those who are listening in that having the right leaders in place can make or break your dealership.
Right.
And making sure that they have the tools and the resources and the knowledge and experience in, yes, the term performance management is accurate, but all of that plays into relationship with your employees.
Right.
Your culture is 100% defined by how leadership treats its employees.
Right.
And that involves communications, interactions, coaching, write-ups, all of these things that play into the HR function that, and Jason, you know this, sometimes it's the path of least resistance, and we turn a blind eye to, some struggles that we're having within service or parts or sales.
Right.
And that can create cultural issues as well as legal liability if we're not managing it all well.
Right.
So culture is huge, and that's what is also part of this labor market, this quiet quitting, the great resignation is, look, if it's a toxic environment, it's a no-go.
Right. There's other options.
Yes.
There's other options, especially now.
Yes, absolutely. So culture is really important. And culture is also built off of good policies and procedures.
Right.
So, everybody should have an employee handbook. Everybody should have that handbook reviewed at least annually by an employment attorney or SESCO, because guess what? They have member access for that.
And in fact, you all are reviewing KADA's employee handbook.
We sure did, didn't we?
And we're going to update it and make some appropriate changes there. But that is a great service, and something that, again, in our day-to-day so busy activities, you don't necessarily think about. It's, we have a handbook. Well, how old is it?
Where did you get it from? Who did you borrow it from? Are they even in the state of Kentucky?
Right. And you point out some things just in a cursory overview with ours that we had to change just based on changes with laws. So anyways, that is obviously a great service, but most importantly, what I wanted to do today, and Jamie, again, thank you for spending some time with us today, is let our benefits know you have this great benefit available to you. So when you have these questions that come up, there is some uncertainty. As a KDA member, this is just one of the other benefits that you have for being a member. And so we appreciate this partnership. Look forward to working with you down the road. And I'm sure at some point we'll do some sort of a webinar, things that we've done together in the past. We'll share some of those with our dealers here in Kentucky as well. So thank you so much for being with us. Folks, you have any questions, let us know. We're going to have the contact information on this email that the podcast was sent out with. But until next time, we'll see you down the road on Kentucky Horsepower. Thanks for joining.